إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه ومن سار على سبيله إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد. So continuing to mention benefits derived from Bulugh al-Maram in Bab al-Tayammum, the chapter of At-Tayammum. التيمم لغة هو القصد. تقول تيممت كذا أي قصدته. According to the Arabic language, tayammum, it means al-qasdu, yani the intention, that which a person intends. تقول تيممت كذا, I intended such and such. وفي الشرع هو قصد الصعيد الطيب بضربه باليدين ثم مسح الوجه والكفين بنية التطهر، وهو رخصة من الله لعباده يقوم مقام الوضوء والغسل عند عدم الماء أو خوف التضرر باستعماله، وقد دل على مشروعيته الكتاب والسنة المتواترة وإجماع الأمة. So it mentions that as for a tayammum, according to the Sharia, then it is intending to use that sand, that dirt that is pure, to be used by striking with your hands and then wiping your face and the back of your hands, with the intention of purifying oneself. And it's a concession from Allah for His servants that takes the place of wudu and ghusl when one does not have water or will be harmed by using water. And this has been evidence for this is in both in the Quran and the Sunnah, and also according to consensus of the Ummah. I mentioned the first hadith عن جابر بن عبد الله رضي الله عنهما أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال أعطيت خمسا لم يعتهن أحد قبلي. So I've been given 5 things that were not given to anyone else before me. Said نصرت بالرعب مسيرة شهر. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala aided me by striking fear in my enemies for the distance of 1 month's traveling. وَجُعِلَتْ لِيَ الْأَرْضُ مَسْجِدًا وَطَهُورًا. And the masjid and the earth has been made for me as a place of worship, a masjid, and a place for purification. فَأَيُّمَا رَجُلٍ أَدْرَكَتْهُ الصَّلَاةُ فَلْيُصَلِّ. So whoever the time of salah enters upon them, then let them pray. And now, and also in the hadith of Hudhayfa رضي عنه عند مسلم وجعلت تربتها لنا طهورا إذا لم نجد الماء. In this narration it mentions, and its earth, its dirt, its soil, its earth has been made for us a means of purification if we cannot find water. And عن علي رضي عنه عند أحمد وجعل التراب لي طهورا. And also the earth has been made for me as a means of purification. The soil has been made for me a means of purification. Within the hadith of Jabir, the author rahimahullah, he focuses on the main 2 points that is mentioned, and that is the shahid of the hadith is tahuran, that the earth has been made as tahuran, as a means of yani mutahhiran, to be able to purify oneself with it. Meaning tatatahhar bihi. And that is also what's understood from the hadith of al-ma' al-bahr huwa tahurun. Tahurun with fatha. Tahur with fatha means you use it for you can purify yourself with it. You can purify yourself with it. A sister is blocking the car park with a silver Vauxhall. a silver Vauxhall. If a sister's driving a silver Vauxhall, you're blocking the car park. Now, so from this hadith, the fawaid that the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was given certain khasa'is that was not given to any prophet before him. From them is the permissibility of war booty, salah in any place in the earth as long as it's not a place of shirk, a grave, and to purify yourself from the earth as well, being aided with fear, and also the message of Islam for all of mankind and not just his people, and also the great intercession. Also, we learn from this that there is different virtue among the prophets. They have different virtues among themselves. There are those who are more virtuous than others. Also, as Allah mentions, سَأُلْقِي فِي قُلُوبِ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا الرُّعْبِ, that Allah has aided the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ and those who follow him with placing fear in the hearts of their enemies. And this is based on the strength of a believer's iman. Based on the strength of a believer's iman, when encountering the enemy, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will aid them with this type of fear. It's permissible to pray anywhere except where evidence has specified that it's not permissible to do so, such as the graveyard, the toilet, and places of impurity. And also the permissibility of using rocks and sand and soil for tayammum, except for the places that are impure, based on the hadith that it says جُعِلَتْ لِيَ الْأَرْضُ مَسْجِدًا وَالطَّهُورًا, yani to be able to make tahara from any part of the earth. And you have scholars that differ regarding making tayammum, whether it has to be from something that it has soil or dirt or sand that raises from it, or if you can just touch a rock, whether there's anything on it or not. And this is a matter of difference between ulama. But inshallah, based on the general evidences, that is permissible for any of those things that have been mentioned. And from this, we also learn it's not permissible to delay the salah outside of its time. Also, we learn from this, the previous nations were only allowed to pray in places that were specified for salah. As for this ummah, the ummah of the Prophet Muhammad, then they can pray anywhere, except for where it has been explicitly prohibited from. Also is evidence for the permissibility of abrogation between the different shari'as, the different shara'i'. So the sharia of those who preceded, there may be matters that are abrogated with the sharia of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So it's not permissible to quote as evidence from the previous shara'i' in opposition to the sharia of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The next hadith as mentioned عن عمار ibn Yasir رضي الله عنهما قال بعثني النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم في حاجة فأجنبت فلم أجد الماء فتمرغت في الصعيد كما تتمرغ الدابة ثم أتيت النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم فذكرت له ذلك فقال إنما يكفيك أن تقول بيديك هكذا ثم ضرب بيديه الأرض ضربة واحدة ثم مسح الشمال على اليمين وظاهر كفيه ووجهه متفق عليه واللفظ لمسلم. And in the narration for Bukhari وضرب بكفيه الأرض ونفخ فيهما ثم مسح بهما وجهه وكفيه. So it mentions in this hadith that the Prophet Muhammad sent Ammar ibn Yasir on an errand. He became junub, in a state of janaba. In his sleep, he had fallen in a state of janaba. And he didn't find water, so he rolled on the soil like an animal does to perform tayammum. So he understood that he had to reach his whole body. So he rolled in the soil just like an animal would. And then he returned to the Prophet Muhammad and mentioned to him what had occurred. And the Prophet said to him, it would have sufficed you to do it with your hands this way. And he struck his hands once on the soil and then rubbed the left hand on the right and the exterior part of his palms and his face. And in narration Bukhari, he struck the earth with his hand, with the palms of his hands, and then blew off the dust and rubbed both his palms of his face and his hands. And you rub your face and the back of your hands. And that is sufficient for at-tayammum. So we understand from these ahadith that these are clear evidence for the permissibility of performing tayammum. Also, the importance of understanding the sunnah and following the sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu, because the sunnah tubayyinu sifatu tayammum. The sunnah clarifies the methodology of how to perform tayammum. Also is evidence of the virtue of Ammar ibn Yasir anhuma, that the Prophet would send him on errands. And also that the Prophet would send his companions on matters, errands of importance. He would delegate those who would be entrusted with these responsibilities. Also that janaba is not only from intercourse but also from al-ihtilam, which is to have a wet dream. And that tayammum, if a person cannot find water, tayammum can also take the place of ghusl during that time. And also it showed the understanding that Ammar had of tayammum from the ayah, and then it was clarified to him by the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And also he was not commanded to repeat the salah. He was not commanded to repeat the salah. And it also shows the permissibility of al-ijtihad عند عدم النص أو خفائه. The permissibility of striving to come to a conclusion based on evidence when you don't have sufficient evidence or it's not clear to you, when it's difficult to find clarity. And also the permissibility of ijtihad during the time of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. As Ammar, he carried out ijtihad as to how to perform tayammum by just rolling in the soil like an animal would. And it showed the qiyas of Ammar, that the reason why he made the soil go all over his body, just like when water would go all over your body when you're performing ghusl. Also, من اجتهد ثم وجد النص على خلاف اجتهاده وجب رجوعه إلى النص. When a person strives to come to a verdict or conclusion on a matter, and they realize that there's evidence to show otherwise, then they have to then follow the evidence. Also, it shows that the verb in the Arabic language, the word qawl, qala yaqulu, is also used for actions. As the person said, أن تقول بيديك. أن تقول بيديك. You wouldn't say to say with your hands, but to do with your hands. So it shows that the verb قال يقول, which means to say, is also used in the Arabic language for actions. Also it shows التعليم بالفعل, that sometimes education is better done and understood practically. And a clarification of the sifa of tayammum, of the methodology of performing tayammum, is the same for al-hadith al-akbar wal-asghar, whether it's for major impurity or minor impurity. And that you only have to strike the area, the land, the earth, the soil, the rock once. And you wash your hand, you wipe your face and your hands, you wipe your face and your hands once. Some people, they touch the sun and they start doing the actions of wudu. That's not correct. Also, it shows evidence of not always having to mention details. As Ammar, he said the Prophet sent him on a haja, on a need. He didn't say what it was, because there's no need. Not all information is for all is. So you don't always have to say every single detail. But he said he was sent on a matter, and that is sufficient. As for what that matter is, then that's not our concern, nor does it have any impact on the ruling that is mentioned during that situation. And also it mentions that it's not permissible to perform tayammum except when there's no water available or a person will be harmed when using it. And من اجتهد فأخطأ فإنه لا يؤمر بالعيادة ولا ينكر عليه. The one who strives to come to a conclusion and they make a mistake, they are not commanded to repeat the act of worship, nor are they reprimanded. And that's if a person is ahlan lil ijtihad, if a person is qualified to make ijtihad. Also, the permissibility of blowing your hands if there's a lot of soil or dirt on your hand when you touch the ground for tayammum. Now, and also the clarity that the religion is easy. The fact that Allah grants us these concessions in times of difficulty is evidence of the ease of the religion. Is evidence of the ease of the religion. Now, Now, the next hadith it mentions وعن ابن عمر رضي عنهما قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم التيمم ضربتان ضربة للوجه وضربة لليدين إلى المرفقين رواه الدارقطني وصحح الأئمة وقفه. So this hadith is sahih mawqufan, it goes back to Abdullah bin Umar, not back to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. As for attributing it back to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then that is not authentic. But this hadith is a clarification of the description of performing at-tayammum. However, يخالف الحديث الأول, it is not, it opposes the hadith that preceded by saying that you touch the ground twice. And the hadith that preceded is muttafaqun alayh, is agreed upon, both Bukhari and Muslim. And this hadith is differed regarding its authenticity, and is mentioned to be authentic, to be mawquf, it goes back to Abdullah ibn Umar and not back to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So that which is correct is one, the hadith of Ammar ibn Yasir radiallahu anhuma, that you only strike the earth once. And that you only have to wipe your hand and not up until your elbows. And also, some would understand that they make qiyas, where they say you should wash your hands with the soil, the sand, and the likes, just as you would use water to wash your hands. But the difference between tayammum and wudu is al-masih. Al-masih, the asl of this is takhfif. It's mabni al-takhfif. So it's something to be done lightly. So one should not have the analogy that one is to wash their hands the way they would wash their hands in wudu. That is not correct. So we'll stop there inshallah ta'ala, and we'll continue from the next hadith Abu Hurairah in the next lesson بإذن الله تعالى. بارك الله فيكم. اللهم صل وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. جزاكم الله خير. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.